We wish to thank you all for your presence in today's press conference. My name is Inspector Simando. I am the Public Relations Officer of the Gambian Immigration Department. And with me here today is Deputy PRO, Inspector Suleiman Sambu. I also have the OIC of Community Engagement, Musa Fati, and then the main boss here, Commissioner Fode Gassama, Commissioner President of GID. We wish to extend our gratitude to all of you for your time and patience, and then to inform you that this particular press conference is part of the GID's approach to develop an open channel of communication with the media houses, respecting your role as the fourth estate in this country, and how are you able to crucially engage in development as well. So in today's itinerary, the first thing we're going to do will be to discuss an update on the situation of the Gambian ID card that we had recently sent a press release on yesterday. From there, we also will discuss about an update that we want to give the media houses with regards to our engagement on migration management issues. The third would be a short update on the situation of the MRP passport that we had also sent a release a few weeks ago. And from there, we are going to invite questions and also answer some of your concerns as media personnel. Now, as a start, we want to inform you that yesterday, I'm sure you have all seen that, we had sent a press release that Gambians' concern over the past 8 to 7 months had been how can they have their ID cards been printed and their residential permits. Now, it had been quite a long time since we were able to start printing those documents. But then recently, some weeks ago, we were able to commence the printing. On the 9th of December 2024, our ID card office was able to start operations, and they were able to print out the backlog we had there. Commissioner will take us through that entire procedure. We had also cleared in our press release that on the 30th of December, that is next week Monday, all Gambians and non-Gambians within the country who had applied for their ID cards or their permits can also go to any of our ID card stations where they had been enrolled initially to also have access to their printed cards. So we think it's important for us because you have been asking questions about the ID card situation. This interface will give you a chance to be able to understand how far we have gone and what do we have on the table as well. So before we go to the other areas, I will just openly give the chance to the commissioner here to take you through activities that concerns the ID card situation, and from there we talk about the other issues. Commissioner?
But just to give you a short historical background, I think we all know, it's a public knowledge, that the ID card system was under a public-private partnership. The whole process or the agreement between government and the private partner was mainly based on a BOT model, that is to build, operate, and transfer. Therefore, the entire solution, the ID card solution or the ICT infrastructure was built by the private partner, which was Semlex, and it was operated by the company during the period of contract. And they eventually handed over this system to us at the end of the concession, which was sometime early this year. The ID card application since then continued throughout the country. Our centers were operational throughout the country. We have 15 ID card centers that are spread across the country. And that the services that they provide continued in those services, in those centers. Individuals or applicants were able to go to these centers and have their applications processed, their enrollment done in the system. But unfortunately, from March, we had a problem with the printing of ID cards. And this problem mainly was centered around software and hardware problems. You know, these systems are built in such a way that they go with software. And the hardware that is also used, sometimes they have licenses, you know, that make them operate. I may not want to go into detail into those areas, but the issues were mainly centered around those issues, which is hardware and software. That is the reason why our operations that had to do with printing of cards were not possible. But I wanted to state that the application procedure continued throughout the country. Applicants were able to go to centers and have, most of the centers, not all, but most of the centers were operational. However, after several months of hard work to ensure that this problem is solved, We were able to fix the problem recently, together with the help of Margins ID company. We were able to fix the problem. And now we have been able to print all the cards that were in our system from March to date. Just to give you a breakdown, this amounted to, for national ID card, which is the ECOWAS ID card, we were able to print 38,904, and this was the total backlog that we had in the system. 38,904 ECOWAS ID cards were printed for Gambian citizens. For residential permits, which is issued to non-Gambians that are resident here, we were able to print 14,545 residential permits. For non-Gambian ID cards, which are also issued to other categories of non-Gambians that are resident here, we were able to print the entire backlog, which was 22,840. For aliens ID card, we were able to also print the entire backlog, which is 4,648 aliens ID cards. So as we speak, we only have left in our system to be printed 1,174 non-Gambian ID cards, But this is not due to a problem of the system any longer, but it's due to an issue of consumables that we are working very hard to resolve in one of these 2 days. Moving forward, I just want to announce that our ID system is now up and running, it's functioning. All prospective ID applicants are urged to go ahead. Once they get enrolled in the system, within a reasonable amount of time, we will be able to deliver your ID cards. So this is not a question of only dealing with the backlog. We have resolved the problem, and we are hopeful that moving forward, applicants will be able to get their ID cards as they enroll in the system, not only the national ID card or the ECOWAS ID card, but also the residential permit and all the categories of services that we provide. It has not been easy, really. It has been a consolidated effort by all stakeholders. All hands were on deck, even the media, the National Assembly, everybody has been asking, and because it has been a concern for everybody. And a lot of players came in to play one role or two to ensure that the problem is solved. Now that we have solved the problem, I particularly want to thank the Director General of Immigration, Mr. Ibrahim Mbub. It has been his main concern since we have stopped production. It has been his priority to ensure that we are back on track. He has done everything possible to ensure that we start operations again. I also want to thank the Honorable Minister of Interior, Mr. Sanyang, and the entire staff of the Ministry of Interior. They have really played a very important role in terms of policy guidance and oversight, and to ensure that we are up and running. The Ministry of Digital Economy also played an important role. They are a very important partner, and by extension, the whole government of the Gambia. But also, most importantly, I want to thank the general public for their patience, the Gambians, people who have had the need to get their ID, and for this reason, they couldn't lay hands on their ID cards. We want to thank them for their patience, and we want to encourage them from Monday to report wherever they have enrolled to ensure that they collect their cards. From Monday, these cards will be available across the country, and wherever one has applied for and enrolled, you go there, you'll be able to pick your card. Not only Gambians, also non-Gambians alike, who have also had to pay for their residential permits and could only have receipts, but they couldn't get the card. Now the cards are available. I encourage them to go and pick up their cards. I think that's it from my side. I want to thank you for your attention and will be available for any questions that you may have.
So we've all heard as to the situation of the ID card as of now. The Gambia Immigration Department under leadership of DJ Ibrahim Mbub is very much concerned about the public's interest, and then we deem it fitting to update you as to whatever is happening within our mandate here. Now we will move on to other updates we also want to give you before we move on to the question and answers for the ID card situation. Now the other thing I want us to also highlight is recently, over the past 2 months, we had engaged with the media with regards to some MMU activity we had in Tanyi, where we had some migrants intercepted. Now, it has always been a concern to you, the media out there, as to what does the GID do after they are able to intercept certain migrants. Are we making any legal efforts in these situations? And then the answer has always been in the affirmative, that yes, we always want to make sure that we prosecute those who are found wanting of these situations. Now, by way of showing you our commitment as a department, I want to just highlight 5 important cases that have recently been discussed with you, and we had taken them very seriously. And as of now, they've been taken to the court, and we're able to have convictions in some of them. Others were able to get what we call as forfeitures in those situations. For example, the first case, you can remember the case of the carton we discussed some months ago. That happened on the 15th of July, where we had 1 boat and also 4 barrels of fuel. Now, this case had been taken to the court, despite the legal challenge we face as a department. I talked to you about this situation, that as a department we have a legal issue whereby we are not empowered to be able to do certain issues. And what we do is to find a way to navigate through other mechanisms and be able to put these people to the spotlight. Now, our legal team, together with the Gambia Police Force legal efforts, we were able to have those individuals involved in this case. All these things that they had with them, the boat and the 4 barrels of fuel, have all been forfeited by the court and has now been given to the state. In a second case, we also had the 16th of September 2024 case that happened at Tujereng, which I also discussed with you, where we had 1 boat, 160 HP engine. We also have 80 gallons of fuel had also been taken to the court. Despite our inability to be able to use some migrant-related laws in the Gambia here, they were also forfeited and has been given to the state as well. A similar case occurred in the case of Kartong, where we had 1 boat and also 2 40 HP engines as well. In this particular case too, they had been taken to the court, and the court had ruled that we have all those materials also forfeited to the state. The case of Faraba Bantang we had also discussed in our recent interview, had also been a case in point, and we had 50 gallons of fuel in this situation with 2 engines and also 1 wooden boat. When they were taken to the court as well, through our legal efforts, we were also able to have those perpetrators with the materials now being also given to the state. So this has shown to you that the GID is not just eager to talk to you. We want to show you how well we are working towards making sure that we keep this country safe and secure. And a recent case is also the case of Nyomi that we had talked about. In the Nyomi's case, where we had 1 boat and 120 gallons of fuel as well, together with 2 engines. There we had 2 things. The perpetrators had been convicted and fined each, because there are two involved. Each of them was fined $50,000 each of them. And then they also have all their materials that includes the boat and the gallons of fuel have also been forfeited. So these are 5 cases that are now added to the 3 other cases we had since 2024. Altogether, we have almost 48 cases whereby GID had taken legal actions against all those we found wanting of irregular migration activities. So we want to assure Gambians that we are not just a department that keeps or saying words to you, but we are proactive in our dealings and dynamic to make sure that we keep this country safe and secure. And we will not relent when it comes to irregular migration. It is our duty as a state, as GID, to also make sure Gambians are kept safe and secure. And these endeavors will continue as long as we exist. Now, moving forward, I also want to update you on the case of the MRP situation. We had issued a press release almost 2 or 3 weeks ago that the MRP passport had some technical challenges, and as a result, we have not been printing. Gone are those days when GID would have an issue and would keep it to itself and wouldn't communicate to the public. We have nothing to hide because we want to be that open in communications, and the MRP situation as it now has gone to an advanced stage of being resolved. And we are hopeful that very soon we are going to start operations. We understand the plight of Gambians in abroad who have been very much eager to have their passport renewed. But we also want to assure them that our technical team, together with other stakeholders, had been working tooth and nail, making sure that this particular issue is resolved. And as of now, we can give you that almost 95% of the technical challenge had been resolved, and in the shortest possible time, we will start operations. So we think it's important for the public to know that the GID in its reformation efforts is making every bit of energy to make sure that we are able to put these things on the limelight. Now, these are few concerns we want to raise to the public to indicate to you our readiness to be open to the public with regards to operations. Under the leadership of DG Ibrahim Mboup, we want to assure every single Gambian that we are committed to our responsibility. Our mandate, which includes to control, monitor, and regulate people's movement, will always be observed. And Gambians can have the trust in the GID that we are in uniform because we have to serve the public. And it is in your best interest to make sure that we trust those we give responsibilities. Well, once we have that trust upon those people, they can deliver to expectations. So we want to thank you all for your efforts. And at this particular juncture, we are going to open up the platform. I'm sure you have so many questions to raise. If you have any concerns with regards to the ID card situation, with regards to the cases of the migrant situation, you can always raise them, and we'll be here to answer them as much as possible. Thank you.
I'm Kim Mukai from the Voice newspaper. You talk about the issues of laws that is stopping you from doing those prosecutions. I was in court one time ago, but those that would be coming to court are only the agent that they will bring. In fact, those that are paying their monies to them will come as witnesses to testify.
The PRO did state that in the country we don't have specific laws that are dealing with smuggling of migrants in its entirety, but notwithstanding, we have other laws that are applicable. We have the Immigration Act, which has a lot of offenses as far as immigration into or outside of country is concerned. We also have the Criminal Code. I think we all know about that. And there are many other laws that are applicable. So we always make recourse to that. But what the PRO is stating, it will make life easier for all of us if we have specific laws that deal with smuggling of migrants. And that's the smuggling of migrants law that we have been speaking about. Because most countries, especially countries around us, all have enacted. The Gambia also signed and ratified, because this is an international law. The Gambia has already signed and ratified this convention, which is the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. But we are still working hard to have it domesticated so that it can be applicable in the country. Okay, by going by the principles of those law, international standards, it is important to go after people who are enriching themselves with this menace. That is why most of the time it is the people that receive money that are concerned, not the people who give them the money. Because in this instance, they are I don't know how they call it, they are objects of crime. The criminal himself is the person who sells them the idea and is enriching himself by endangering the lives of these people. So that is international standard. If you look at the convention, that is how it is framed. The target of the law, the criminal law, is the person that enriches themselves. That is using it as a trade in receiving millions, to ferry people. So it is not. It is important. That is why even the migrants can be charged, because they are participating in crime. They can be charged in other laws. But in terms of smuggling of migrants, that international convention is seeing them as objects of crime. The perpetrator is the person who receives the money. And this instance is the people that you refer to as agents. So as our target, we target the agents, because they are the ones that are committing the crime of trying to smuggle people, and in so doing, enriching themselves illegally. I don't know whether you understand the point. So that is why the target, notwithstanding if those people can be charged, but as international best practice, I don't want to call them victims. They are not victims because they know what they are doing. But that international convention is couched in such a way that the person who is smuggling the migrant is the one that is targeted by the law. I don't know if you get it. You get it. You understand. It's clear.
Yes. GID Bill 2023. And in this bill, what is inclusive in that bill includes how can we control SOM, that is how do we smuggle of migrants, for example. So if that bill is passed, that will give us the full energy and also the full power as a department to be able to prosecute people based on legal documents that are in that particular bill. Because what we have done is to make sure that we put or integrate the issue of migration with this irregular migration is to be part of that particular bill. For instance, if you look at the TIP Act, why we have the Traveling Person Act in the Gambia, that is able to handle issues that leads to TIP. But now when it comes to SOM, there is no legal document that gives us those powers. So what we had done, we had realized this gap, that with all our efforts in trying to mitigate irregular migration, the laws are not there. And it is now a part of the GID bill, which is currently at the Ministry of Interior. And then we believe if it is being implemented, if it is being approved by the cabinet and also by the assembly members, it is now going to empower us as a department to be able to do exactly what you are saying. So we're hopeful that once the bill is accepted and also approved, we'll be able to do all these particular issues. I also want to just add to what he just said, that while we may always be asking, why don't we have to look at those who are trying to travel through the irregular migration route? Like he said, the agents, those who organize these activities are of utmost importance to us. Because if there is no one to organize it, you wouldn't have anywhere to go. So as of now, we're using the TIP Act, using other Police Act and Immigration Act rules to be able to at least control this menace. But we look forward to having these laws that is now going to empower us to be able to implement most of these activities as a department. Thank you so much for asking, Kimo. Yes.
My name is Aisha Tukuli from Gambian TV.
Is it okay?
Yes. So the Commission of Operations mentioned that
Commission of Processing.
Processing.
Yes,
okay.
please.
Mentioned that they have went into a concession, if I am right, with Magis company. I just want to clarify that before we move.
Okay, so we want to...
Let me come in. I think you've got it wrong. What I said is the ID card project was under a concession with Semlex. I think we all know that. That is public knowledge, right?
Yeah.
That is a public partnership that we had with Semlex. It has passed. That's why I was using was. Now the entire project was BOT. You remember I said it was build, operate, and transfer. During this period, the system was under the control of the Semlex. We were working with them until at the end of the concession, and they had to hand over the system to us. We are currently not under any PPP. Let it be very clear. I want to state it categorically clear that currently the system 100% belongs to government. We are running it 100% and belongs to government. We are not under any concession. There is no PPP arrangement as we speak. The entire system was handed over to us, and now we are managing it as a government on our own. So I want this to be clear. The concession I spoke about was the Semlex concession in the past, which is public knowledge. I think we all know that. Sure. The ID card was being run by a private partner, which is Semlex. And they built the system. The system that we are using now was built by them. Yeah, and the hardware, the software, everything, and the entire ICT infrastructure. And they ran it with us during the concession period until at the end of the concession they handed over the system. Now the system is 100% government owned, and we are running it as a government, 100%, no concession.
Question. You said GID is having 15 centers across the country.
Yes, of course.
So are we seeing or foreseeing that Gambians could walk into these centers to basically have their ID cards, passport, as you guys basically ask?
Okay, thank you very much. I think we can, let me also make that clear. These centers are for ID, residential permit, aliens card, and what else? Non-Gambian ID card and driver's license, not passport. Not passport. This system, these are the services that are provided by this system. And we have decentralized it. I think we all know that. It is well decentralized. We are at 15 locations from Banjul to Koina, across the country. Our production is centralized. We do our production in Kanifing, but that doesn't mean that you cannot go to any center and have your application processed. Even if you are in Basse, they can process you. The data comes to Kanifing for the printing of the cards. Yes, so we are very much decentralized as far as ID card process is concerned. We even have plans to even go into more communities. We have already identified. So there is a possibility that we may even extend it beyond 15, moving forward. But currently it is 15 centers across the country, and they provide all these services except passport. passport is not inclusive.
Yeah, but can they go there to have their IDs as GID in country is doing it?
Yes, of course, that's what I'm saying. They go there and do your process for your ID. And when the ID is done, you go back there and you'll get your ID. It will be handed over to you. Yes. Just like what has happened now. People have been going to the centers. That is why, okay, if they say technically there was no ID card, technically it can be right because we are not printing. But the service, to provide the service never stopped because our operations throughout the country continued. That is why you almost have, I gave you the numbers, you almost have 40,000 Gambians that were registered in our system. And because now we are able to print their cards, we have printed the entire cards of the entire backlog of people that have been going. Even today, when you go, even yesterday, people have been enrolling. So that never stopped. You know, for us, our people were working, they were in the field, they were able to receive applications, they were able to enroll people in the system. The only challenge we had was to print the card, the physical card, which we were able to resolve now. So the process for us never stopped. Technically, people could say there's no ID card. Yes, we understand because we couldn't print your cards. But our people have been working and they have been providing these services across the country during the entire time.
Press release, when we talk about document processing centers, we refer to the ID card. When we say issuing centers, then we refer to the passport in this situation. Now, it's key that we understand these technical differences as well. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm Tamba, UTV. First I would say it's been welcoming that Gambians will finally get their ID cards after a long time. But it's important here, the question I want to ask is how much patience and support are we going to get from the immigration? Because whenever you're enrolled for your ID card, you're giving a receipt. And now, after printing 38,000, nearly to 39,000, Gambians will come to collect their ID cards. And some of them, it has been a long time, they will misplace their receipts or will not come with their receipt to the collection center. What role will the immigration play to ensure that they serve Gambians who come to collect their IDs without their receipts?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a very important question. I think those kind of situations can arise. But we encourage them to go to the center where they have been issued, where they have been enrolled, you know, and claim that they have enrolled there and they lost their ID card, they lost their receipts. I am sure there will be a way out in order to be able to reprint out the receipt. I think there's a possibility. It's more of a technical question, really, and the technicians are not available here. But I am making recourse to the passport where I directly work. There's a possibility that when you lose your receipt, when you come to collect your passport, there's a way that we are able to print that enrollment receipt for you so that you go and collect your passport. So I am sure there's a way out. These are technical issues, but I am sure there are a way out. The moment you know that you have paid for this ID card, and it's better you go there, with or without the receipt. We encourage you to go with the receipt. It makes life easy for everybody. But in circumstances where you have lost your ID, your receipt, you still remember your data, right? You still remember your data. You'll be able to go there, tell them your data that was enrolled in the system. I am sure they'll find a way. Yes, we encourage them to go. Don't just say that I've lost my receipt, let me not go. Please bring along the documents you use during application. That's your birth certificate or whatever, Alcalo certificate or whatever document you had. Just come along with that. They'll be able to verify your data. And through that, they'll be able to look in the system, locate you, and print 1 or 2 documents for you so that you can get your cards. The cards are ready, with or without your receipt is for you. Come there, the solution will be found. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
We welcome this idea. It's certainly initiative. So my question is, how long will this processing of ID cards take? Because sometimes we do hear from people say, okay, I went to this and it has taken me 1 week or 2 weeks or more than that before I get access to my ID card. So how well are you guys prepared to just actually receive the ID card, let's say after 2 days or 3 days of processing? How are you guys working towards?
I think our objective is that we will never stop again. ID card is a continuous process. There's no time that every day people will lose their ID card. Every day somebody will turn 18 years, and the person needs to come and get an ID card. In fact, it's a requirement of the law that if you are 18 years, you are supposed to have your ID card so that you are identified wherever or whenever possible. So we encourage everybody to keep coming and get their ID card, and it's also our objective that we don't stop issuing ID card at all times. In terms of time that is required, in the sub-region, we are among the best in terms of time. There are countries you apply for ID card, it takes a greater number of time before you get it. Here, the minimum is 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. I am saying this because that is the acceptable amount of time, but there's a possibility that you can get it less than that. But due to issues also, it can be possibility that you can get it more. Because I'm saying that ID cards are produced centrally. It's not like when you go to Bundung, you do your ID card, Bundung will do everything and you get your ID card. Or you go to Basse. All this data converge at a central location. And that is where printing takes place. So meaning if they print, they now have to send these cards physically. For instance, to Basse. And you can imagine the amount of time that will take. In fact, we don't just send. It's those officers that they are supposed to travel in, sign for these cards, and go back. So it depends on the arrangement they have. What is the time that is required for them to travel? They will not travel every day, of course. Huh? Perhaps every month is once. Every month they come and collect their cards twice. So imagine, that will also take time, right? So, but the acceptable amount of time for us is 2 weeks. 2 weeks, yes, 2 weeks. At least we want to be sure that in 2 weeks, when you apply in 14 days, you are able to get your ID card. Yes.
And just quickly, to add to that, I think it's also important for Gambians to note that while GID wants to serve them to their satisfaction, they also have to respect due diligence when it comes to some of these procedures. When it comes to documentation, it's a very sensitive issue. And we have to be very much meticulous with how we do some of these issues. So I think it's important for people to be very much patient when it comes to documentations. Like I said, go to other countries, it takes you months before you get a document. In the Gambia, whether it is ID card or passport, within 2 weeks you can always have it. So I think it's key for them to also acknowledge the efforts of what we are doing, but again, respect our procedures as well, because that is going to help us to easily provide the service to them as well.
Thank you.
It's quite important.
You mean the backlog when it started or when the printing started? How long it took us to print this? Also, I think the PRO stated it, the kind of effort that we ordinarily would have taken a lot of time to print this backlog. But the Director General, our Director General, has stated us that since we solved the problem, which was, I think, barely 2 weeks ago, he told us that he wants these cards to be printed and delivered before the end of this year. You can imagine. He doesn't want these cards to go up to 2025, especially the residential permits. They are for this year. The RPs are 2024. He has told me, to relay to my team, that these cards are supposed to be out before 2025. It depends on us whether we want to do magic. So we had put in a lot of effort. It is less than 2 weeks. We were able to print the entire, not the 38, the entire. The entire. But what we had done is to bring in officers from most of our issuing centers, a good number, and we had a good number of staff, and we had to make them morning, afternoon, night. Work morning, afternoon, night, 3 shifts. Others will come in the morning, close at 4, others come in the afternoon, close by 12, others will print up to daybreak and go home. So this is what we did. That's the effort that is. Thank you very much for asking this question. The canvassing alone, in terms of manpower, we are not able to do this. We are able to bring in officers from all over, especially from the Greater Banjul area, our issuing centers in the Greater Banjul area. And we had to make them work 24 hours in the last 2 weeks. That is why we were able to print all these cards. Printing is also not as quick as you think. Because after printing, it has to go to quality assurance, QA, before you approve that this card is okay, it undergoes a lot of process. So it's not just putting in the machine and prep, that's all. It has to go under various processes. So because we had gathered a good number of manpower, and we had to make them work 24 hours. That is how we were able to, I think it's less than 2 weeks. Yes. We can have, or we can, we were able to finish it, yes. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much for asking this question. Ask me, right? So just for the records, printing officially started on the 9th of December.
9 December.
Officially, on the 9th. And as we're speaking, we have the entire backlog has been printed, like he's saying.
Yes.
I think it's also key to also emphasize a few things. Sometimes we overlook efforts of officers in their responsibilities. If you look at the case of the biometric passport we had informed you that officers who work all the way from 6 o'clock to 8 or 9 at night, right? And now we're also saying the same thing, that for the ID cards, in less than 3 weeks, we had 3 shifts working at the printing room, and they work 24 hours. And that is why we're able to clear the entire backlog. So while we sometimes overlook the efforts made by officers, it's also key that we're fair enough in our judgments, knowing that they have sacrificed their time, left their families at home just to serve the Gambian population as well. This is quite important.
Thank you. It's important that he clarified. I couldn't remember the date, but actually it was on the 9th December, yes, that we started printing. And today is what? So we are talking about 3 weeks. Just to make the record straight, yes. It has never been anybody's plan that we encounter this kind of issue. But, sometimes unforeseen circumstances arise, especially these ICT equipment. They are machines. Things can arise that you are not expecting. And that is exactly what happened. The entire taking over was very smooth. I was in part of the whole scenario, setup, but they had a good handing over. And then down the line, these things erupted from nowhere. It's a question of how now do we fix it. We didn't intend that it will take that long, but eventually we didn't know the depth until we started, interfacing with the issue. We knew how the depth of the issue was, but thank God we have resolved it. It is up and running, and I think we have had the assurance that now we are on a good footing. We don't expect any other hindrance. And but the team also, we have a very dedicated technical team, which comprises officials of the immigration, the police. There is a component of the driver's license in the entire system. I think you know about that. And also, most importantly, the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. They are the government body that take charges of these ICT platforms. So this is the technical team that we have. They are very vibrant. They have been doing their best, and eventually we had success. They are present. They are a team that is always present in the issues in the production center, and we believe as issues arise, they will be able to deal with them and resolve them, so that we don't have a break again.
So can we have a backup plan if surprise, so that operation will continue and issuance also will continue? Because it is IT, and in IT, I think everything should have a backup. We see that now it is Google is trying to build a cloud storage inside the OSO for a backup. So can we have a backup?
Yeah, I think when you say backup, we have backup. We have backup. Backups are there. We have disaster recovery, I think. But the issue is when you say backup, that means you have to build a separate entire ICT infrastructure, a separate one, so that if this one falls, this one. The backup that I know is the data. Those ones are backed up. They are stored, independently of each other. But when you say a backup, I think maybe what you mean is to build another system. When the system doesn't work,
if this is not working, we switch to this time.
Okay, if I may chip in.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for raising this question. A backup, in essence, would mean being able to have a second alternative.
Yeah.
That in case alternative A doesn't work, you have to go down to B. I just want to make it explicitly clear that GID is an operational entity. Our job is to operate, okay? We are not responsible of policy making, and we have no powers to decide whether we're supposed to build softwares or not, right? So what we do is we implement what is given to us. So if there is supposed to be a backup plan, for, like you were saying, I would just want to say that these are documents, and they're very sensitive. Building a backup plan would mean that you have to start from scratch. and be able to maintain the same standards we have built over the past years. So as of now, the target is making sure we sustain what we have. That is our purpose. If there is supposed to be a backup, like you're saying, if it is data, we have the data backed up. It is always very safe. But then with regards to having an alternative software to be able to work in case this software goes down, it doesn't have, it is not there. But it's also good for you to understand that it is not about building something new. It's about sustaining exactly what do you have on the platform. And once that is being sustained, then we're able to move. The technical team, their job is to make sure everything goes smooth and running. So that is why we have to focus on sustainability mechanisms and not building up backups for our documentation.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yes, but that is outside the mandate of the GID.
But I suggest the GID to come up with a suggestion that this thing has happened.
Your suggestion is well taken and will be considered. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
The purpose is to build another system.
Yes.
Which is the issuance of passport for the diaspora.
Yes.
So, what are some of the mechanisms that GID is putting in place? You've mentioned that you guys are an operational institution. So these are Gambians that are in the diaspora and might be are also in need of having a passport. How long will this take in terms of resolving this issue? I mean, we've seen the ID card taking, months before, Gambians could basically have their ID. So how long will this process also take in terms of resolving this situation?
Okay. You want to give it?
Okay, let me state that the objective is that because we have a passport, and that is the biometric passport, the objective is to have it issued all over. Maybe some of these things are policy issues, but the objective is to be able to issue the biometric passport even to diaspora Gambians. But because of the fact that that is a work in progress, there are a lot of discussions to ensure that that happens, which I know is happening. In the meantime, all what we can do is to rely on the issuance of MRP. And because the fact of the matter is that you cannot be issued a biometric passport if you are not physically present. To solve the problem is to be able to enroll citizens in the diaspora. And that has to take some investment, some efforts which are already in place, which is not in place but is a work in progress. So that is why we still have the machine-readable passport, because this is an instance where it is possible that it is issued when you are not physically present. The machine-readable passport has been running since 2002. It is a system that is very resilient, has been in operation for a very long time. I don't know, 2002 is how many years? It's quite, some time. So it is something that as a department we cherish a lot, because we are able to maintain it so that it serves this long. You understand? So because the objective is to have another passport, the biometric passport eventually. That is why sometimes the issuance of this passport, the system sometimes is not very, I don't know how to call it. It's not being, there's not lot of investment. And because the system now is old, that's why we have one or two problems. But like the PRO has stated, we are working on it, and currently 95% of the problem is solved. And we believe by the next 2 weeks, they are even saying next week, but let me tell you, by the next 2 weeks, I think we will be able to get out of the woods and we will have the passport running for the diaspora. Yeah, so that is how the situation stands. It is a very resilient system. It has served us for a very long time, and we still believe it is going to serve a substantial amount of time after this maintenance is done. And we want to also tell the diaspora to thank them for the patience that they have had during this period. And we are hopeful that in the next, sometime in January, we'll be able to start running the system. So that is the situation with the MRP. It is okay. We have found a solution, and it is almost 95% done. I think that is the situation currently with the MRP.
And alternatively, I just want to add that we also want to implore on Gambians in the diaspora to renew their passports earlier before they expire. I think the reason why some of them have a challenge is the fact that they will wait till the passport expires and now they want to renew it. And then when something occurs, they put the blame on the GID. By default, documents should be renewed in earnest before they expire. So I think it's key that when they have passports that has maybe 2 or 3 months to expire, let them start working on renewal procedures.
And I just want to also state that during this time, I think there are a lot of diaspora Gambians that are in town.
Yeah.
I work at the biometric passport, and I have seen that there are others that are taking the opportunity to change their passports before they leave. I just want to take the opportunity to tell most of them that are around, if you know that your passport is 6 months to expiry, before you go back, please take the opportunity and come and get your biometric passport, now that you are physically present in the country. Others are doing it. I see a lot of Gambian diaspora that are coming now at the biometric office to change their passport, but I want to encourage a greater number of them that are currently in country, to have their biometric passports before they leave. I think even if you have a biometric, if you have an MRP passport and you still want biometric passport, if it is not expired, we will be able to change this passport for you, so that you get the biometric passport. Please let them come forward and get their biometric passports towards those directions. But I may not be able to give you details because they are mainly policy issues. But that is the idea, that's the objective in the long term, to have Gambians go to the embassies and have them enrolled, and a passport is printed for them. That's the ultimate objective, and there's a lot of work towards that direction. We are hopeful that we will reach there one day, Mr. Baji.
How about this issue of decentralization?
The what?
Even during the presidential talk, these are some
Decentralization of the
passports.
Yeah, that one also, they are all tied. Overseas enrollment and decentralization are all tied to the same discussions. They are all tied to the same discussions. The biometric passport, it is a lot of machines that are required. You don't just open office and go there. But I am sure there are all partners, all parties in the agreement are very much ready to do this. And the discussions are tied together. That is the overseas and the local decentralization. And eventually we will get there. We will get there. It's a policy issue. That's why we cannot tell you much how far it is. But we know discussions are advanced, and the objective is to have this achieved.
All your questions and doubts have been cleared. We would want to take this opportunity to thank you all for your patience and time, and also for always being supportive to GID. I've been here for less than 4 months, but I've been seeing how the media has been very much keen to also support the work of GID.